All right, psychological topics. So, mental illness and mental health in general related to chronic illness. In 2012, I was diagnosed with PTSD and depression. Depression is very highly correlated with heart disease and heart failure. PTSD was I think, a result of the emergency nature of my particular case, and how if I don't respond to beeps or an emergency situation, that means I could die. And it takes a lot of time to adjust to that, and that is a really bad trigger. So about a year to get over or recover adequately from the PTSD into just a general anxiety that's you're able to cope with. Depression comes and goes. I've been on an antidepressant really since 2012, and I haven't decreased the dose. I've tried a couple of times, and I was under so much stress that I found it was not for me. And I am waiting until there's a sense of security and stability in my life where I can possibly experiment with other antidepressants to see if they could work better. But right now, and it may never come, is not that time. Minimizing uncertainty. Really hard to do with this particular chronic illness. There's so much uncertainty that goes along with it. But I was just talking to a fellow patient the other day about really listening to your doctors and understanding what actions you can do to get your illness under control and to manage it. As soon as you realize or come to the understanding that you are doing everything that you can to the best of your ability, you kind of realize that there's a portion or part of uncertainty that's never going to go away. A lot of that is just life and coming to that realization anyway, which is hard enough. But as someone with chronic illness, that uncertainty is even higher. And you've in my case and in several other chronic illness cases, you have a little hint of mortality always on your mind, and it affects everything that you do. You just acknowledge it and move forward to the best of your ability. Loss. So, wow, this is a big one. Health in general. So realizing that you've lost that privilege of not having to worry about your health and having to put in effort to survive is very different. Loss of social relationships and proclivities. Different things there. Physical abilities, that's really hard. What else? Freedom, yeah, in my case, that might be the biggest one, because I always felt like I was chained, kind of in a cage at first, because if you're me, then every single night, or you have to plug into an outlet. You are overpowered and controlled by electricity and where that electricity is located. So I run off of batteries, and they last about 12 hours. I have several sets, but ultimately that's like, okay, I have 12 hours and I can go this distance for this amount of time before I have to come back to my home and recharge those batteries and go out again. Not exactly like a chain, but very much limiting as far as how far you can go, and kind of an anchor, and keeps you very aware of where that place is, where you have your place that you can plug into the wall or charge your batteries. And lastly, spirituality. So, as I've said a little bit before, you think about mortality more when you have chronic illness, just because I think illness is the exact opposite of life and vitality. So generally, when we get to thinking about our mortality, we start thinking about, what about God? Who's in control? What about the afterlife? Comfort. Who's to blame is a really big one. And personally, I was atheistic, agnostic going into this, and I found that I still am agnostic, but I've taken more of a Buddhist view of not attaching to those things. Non-permanence is a concept in Buddhism that really helped me move forward and adapt with, what am I going to do about this change? How am I going to make sense about it? And how can I adapt to it without just losing my mind?